All right, we are ready to jump on and get started. We've got people from all over. Leslie's from Charleston, South Carolina. Hopefully, we see you guys at ISS Atlantic City. That's going to be an exciting show coming up. We've got about 6 trade shows actually in the second half of this year. So between MBM, which is Graphics Pro, and ISS, which is Impressions, seems as the trendy thing is everybody to change names right now.
Yeah.
But Fulton, South Carolina, New Georgia, Arkansas, Grand Rapids. This is awesome. Got almost about 500 people. So this is great. We're going to jump in. We've got so much here that's going on today that we've been working on. The Printavo team has been growing really quickly. We're coming up on about 26 people at Printavo and hopefully can get to the mid 30s this year with a heavy investment in just engineering and product, because we want to be able to deliver more improvements for you guys to be able to help your shop continue to grow. And we're really, really excited about that. Today, we're talking about line item groups. No secret there. This has been a huge project. Can't emphasize enough how much work that's gone into this on the product and engineering teams. Big shout out to them for really pushing on this. I mean, we're talking 10, 12 months of really the planning, the working on it, the iterating, getting a couple shops starting to run on it, and really making it a powerful solution to help you guys stay organized and grow. Just as a reference, I mean, just migrating the system over to getting this to work from a back-end perspective is huge. There are 6 million orders in Printavo to date, and that has been growing very fast. I had to actually query that this morning because last I thought it was about 4.5 million. So it grows very quickly. And roughly 19.4 million line items. So being able to get this to work smoothly so there's very little downtime for you guys is a huge feat, but very excited to be able to share a little bit more about that today. So let me share this. Our biggest goal is we want to help better track your jobs here, especially this year through your different departments, type of decoration, and equipment. That's been a big push. You've probably heard rumors about a power scheduler that we've been talking about. This is the first huge piece into getting to that stage, and going to be really exciting. Now, what we're going to do today is going to start talking a little bit about the issues that we're trying to solve for, and then we'll be able to get into a demo by Steve, and we'll talk about timelines and next steps to help answer all of your guys' questions. So, again, feel free to drop questions into the comments. We'll try to drive them or answer them. And then, of course, you can always add click ask a question and be able to listen or write that in there. So issues. The first big thing really is pricing, right? Pricing by many garments, pricing by larger sizes, kind of a cumbersome process that we wanted to help be able to improve. So that aspect, right, of duplicating line items, of manually changing prices, of having to go into there and using the general quantity field, we wanted to make that a lot smoother for you guys. And then, of course, going in and let's say you've got one design for long sleeve tees and hoodies, and you want to be able to give them the quantity discounts. Well, that's also more of a manual process today. That's going to be changing. Another really big thing is visual improvements. There are so many visual improvements that we're really excited about. The first one is the work order. Anybody printing off the work order, you'll notice that the size columns don't go all the way down. Anytime there's a mock-up, it breaks up those. And so that's going to be something we'll show you. And then editing line items. When you create a quote, you can't see the imprints there. You have to go into the drop down and you have to be able to open those up. We're going to talk about that. And then, of course, adding mock-ups to imprints too. And so this is going to be a big change, because to set up this foundation for our future of scheduling, you're going to be able to start building out imprints a lot more fuller. And the first big step here that we're going to show you is adding imprints to those mock-ups. And then, of course, the last one is this is going to be a lot easier for the customer to see and organize and be able to digest the order because of how it's so much more visually separated, let alone internally how you guys can be able to keep track of it too. So with line item groups, instead of the long list of line items, 1, 2, 3, over and over and broken up by mockups, well, you're grouping that work together by what we call line item groups now. So you'll create these groups, you'll assign the line items inside of them. You can add all of your detailed information to be able to price a lot quicker and more flexible to how you guys manage your shop now. So we're very excited about that. Of course, a graphic doesn't do it justice, and Steve's going to jump into that demo in 1 minute here. The other big thing here that is really the solution is everything is by design. So the best practice is that each group is one design of work that you're going to
All right,
what I wanted to, I'm going to just jump back really quickly because we had that kind of brief jump there. So basically, we are going ahead and we're going to be grouping, allowing you to group the line items, but that's nice. How does this help you? Well, the biggest thing here is that you guys can take those line items and then be able to group them by design. We see some shops are actually starting to group by decoration type, but really grouping everything by design to keep it very visually separated, and then also easily able to print that out and be able to work with it going forward. There's a ton of visual improvements that you're also going to be able to see. Namely, a really big one is when you create that quote, the imprint is right in there. So you can be able to edit it in line and not have to go to the drop down and know what's on that quote and what is not. So easy to be able to use that. Plus, probably the big one here for everybody using it when they're getting onto the beta and then the general release is the pricing. So pricing now is that total group. It's going to take every single line item in that group together to use as a quantity, be able to go to the matrix, grab your markup and your print cost, and then go through each line item and be able to add the correct price. So 2Xs are handled correctly. Hoodies, for example, at the same time, handled correctly, and it's all done really well and really fast. So we're really excited about that. But without further ado, let's just get into the demo. Let's see how this thing works, and then we'll talk about after beta timeline and next steps. Steve.
Cool. Yeah. I got to pull it back up because we lost it. I just want to acknowledge one thing that Kristen Valdez said, that air fryer pizza is good. I've never had air fryer pizza, but everything I've put into an air fryer has come out delicious. So I don't know why pizza would be any different. Anyway, all right, folks. Can everybody see my screen? Okay, yes, great, cool. Okay, so what I have here on my screen is a Printavo quote. And really what I want to do just in the next couple of minutes here is show you, what line item groups look like, and of course, how they help you, how they help the customer, and we'll add a line item group to this order so you can see how they function and all that stuff, and then we'll kick it back to Bruce. So without further ado, to quote Bruce, let's jump in. So scrolling down, right, or before I scroll down, right, as Bruce mentioned, traditionally in Printavo, line items in Printavo are all clumped together, right? There's no real way, some people get creative with mockup breaks, detail breaks, all that stuff, but there's no real way to tell, what work is associated with what group of orders, right? And on top of that, every line item is kind of its own imprint, right? Because you have to add imprint information to each line item or pricing matrices to each item. And that's a huge part of what line item groups is going to help with. So as I scroll down here, instead of having all of our products in one row, right, we actually have this broken out, right? So we have up top here, we have our screen printing group, we have an embroidery group here in the middle, and then we got some promo products at the bottom. Now just before I switch screens, I'm sorry, I lost my chat, but I saw someone ask about sizes. And I'll just touch on that right now since it's right here. Yes, each individual line item group will have its own sizes, right? And that's to, well, A, help you, right? But B, also be more transparent and more visually appealing, as Bruce mentioned, to your customer, right? So up top here, we have our screen printing group where you'll see we have Gildan 2000 in white and a 5400 in red. So multiple product types that are getting this one imprint. And our size range here is small to 2X. In our embroidery group, we just have some smalls, and then our promo products, right? Promo products don't come in 3XL usually, right? If you're I don't know, making pens, right? Unless it's like a novelty, right? You can just put in basic quantities. So again, it's not confusing. It's way more clear, again, to your shop, to your production team and to your customers, right? And again, you'll see we have our imprint here, and any information in the imprint, just to reiterate this, and I'm going to sound like a broken record saying this throughout, is going to apply only to the line item group that it's associated with. Now, you still can put, as you can see, like mock-ups on a per line item group basis to help clarify different products. If you so choose, that's up to you. But otherwise, the imprint information is going to apply to the line item group. But enough chit chat about that. Let's build one and really get into the, kind of the behind the scenes of how this works. So I'm just going to go to the edit screen of this particular job here. And let's say, you send this out to the customer and say, hey, I want to add a couple more shirts to this job. Cool, right? Great, more money. Why not? So scroll down, I'm going to add a new line item group. So to do that, I just click the button that says add a line item group. And with that, we have our new line item group. And speaking of sizes, just because we're talking about it, our default selected sizes, are what are going to show up when you add a new line item group. And that's set under my account. But of course, you can add and remove columns with your column management button there. Now, let's say customer wants, I always go to a Gildan 5000 in blue. I don't know, I've just been typing that for years. Why change now? Let's do indigo. Right? And now let's say this customer will just keep the size range we have here. They want to go from small to 2X. Now, we still do have the line item set up so that any plus sizes will still get their own line item, right? And that's really just for transparency's sake, right? So you can communicate to your customer, hey, 2XLs do cost a little more because they're bigger. It takes more time. It's more work, right? More ink. And also to your production team, right? So like your team understands that 2XLs do cost more, 2XLs and above. But the actual process of pricing out for plus sizes is a million times easier, right? Because traditionally, if I wanted to quote out for 2XLs, I'd have to put sizes in small through extra large, and then a bunch in the quantities, and then apply a pricing matrix, and then duplicate it, and then edit all the numbers in the duplicated line item, and it's a whole thing, right? Like, it's not hard, but it's like harder than it should be, and this is going to fix that. So let's fill some quantities out here, right? I'm just going to type some 12s, right? And again, any plus sizes will get their own line items. Now, to traditionally, right, if I were to price this out, I would go over here to my line item options, click on that, and I would click the button that says add imprints. But you'll notice that that's actually no longer there. Now, I do still, as I mentioned, have the option to attach mock-ups to the individual line item. But the imprint button, right, the thing that applies print details, the thing that applies pricing matrices, is no longer here because it's over here. So if I click on the imprint button, you'll see this familiar imprint modal that we have, and I'll add an imprint. Now, before I add any details, one thing I just want to kind of call out and call back to is what Bruce mentioned, is now when you're editing your imprint details on that edit screen, you can actually see them, right, without having to go into the options of the individual line item. And because these imprint details apply to the entire group, any changes you make, you only have to make them one time instead of having to go into individual line items, or if you have a whole bunch of line items on a group, clicking in to see which ones you have to change, right? This is just a million times easier. So let's grab a matrix. Let's just do our screen printing matrix for one color. You'll see down here that matrix is already saying it's associated with the imprint box. I'll add some print details. So that's not how you spell location. Maybe your Pantone info, your mesh counts, right? And as I add this information, again, it's visible on your edit screen. It's easy for you to see, right? And then I'll go ahead and I'll add a mock-up. And again, this mock-up is going to be associated with that entire line item group. So this is a great place for, like your tech packs or something like that, or just, the general design, whatever you want to add here. You can add as many as you want, as always. You can add as many imprints as you want, as always. I'm just doing the one for this case. But again, as you add it, you can see it. It's not hidden, right? We're making this easier for you. Now, what you're probably noticing here is these yellow boxes that are kind of poking up in the back. And I bring that up to say what's traditionally been here is a button that says add and insert pricing. Now, the reason I bring that up is because pricing's handled slightly differently now, insofar as because the pricing is now applying to the entire group, right, we now have this refresh pricing button that's going to apply the pricing to the whole group, right? Now, again, you'll see the price boxes are also yellow. The reason for that is because we're basically just saying, hey, something happened to this line item group that could affect the price. It could impact the price. So you probably want to refresh that pricing. In this case, we said, hey, well, we don't have pricing, right? Like that's the issue, even though we have a matrix ready to go. So when we're ready to apply that matrix for that pricing, I'm just going to click this refresh pricing button and everything's done. Right. So you'll see the 2XL pricing took care of itself. It's not pricing off of 12, it's pricing off of the full 60, right? So you don't have to do that duplication and going back and forth. Super duper easy. And again, just to kind of hammer this point home, you can still add like mock-up and image information to individual line items. Right. Now, something else I'd like to show you, right? We'll call these just to keep track of it. I'll just label these as screen printing. Now, let's say that customer, calls you up and they say, hey, you know what? That indigo blue shirt, could you actually embroider that for me instead of screen print it? You say, yeah, sure, no problem, right? You already have an embroidery group. Even if you didn't, you could easily add one, right? But if you ever need to rearrange your line item groups, it's so easy. All I do is I click and I drag. So I'm going to drag this screen printing line item up to my embroidery group. And before I let this go, I just want to call your attention to the top row there, because you'll see right now, we only have that, we're only doing smalls for embroidery. But the line item we're bringing up has more sizes than small. Well, fortunately, when I let go, we'll take care of that for you, right? And I can bring up, the 2XL as well. But for the purposes of this demonstration, right, what I'd like to call out again, right, is that yellow price box. Because remember, when you see that yellow price box, it means, hey, something happened to this group that probably is going to impact this price. And in this case, what we did was, well, A, we added 48 garments, and B, we added 48 garments that are priced out for screen printing, not embroidery. So if we want to employ the embroidery matrix to this particular product and now to the new quantity of the group, I just click refresh pricing. That's it, right? And we took 48 out of here. Maybe they still want the 2XL screen printed, right? We want to price out for that. I click refresh pricing, and that'll give you your accurate, up-to-date pricing. Also, if you ever wanted to change the small thing, but if you want to change the order of your entire groups, you can do that too. It's all just click and drag. Super duper easy. Cool. So fairly straightforward. A lot of stuff you've seen before, kind of moved around into different places, but with the goal of making this easier for you, easier for your customer, and hopefully just overall more helpful in addressing a lot of the issues that were important to you, that we said, okay, hey, we hear that, we do want to make this better, we get it, right? So with that, I'm going to kick things back to Mr. Bruce Ackerman, and he will talk about next steps.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Steve.
You're welcome.
This is really, really exciting. Again, the big pieces here are pricing. Pricing has changed to make it easier to group pricing together so that you get those quantity discounts. It's broken out by line item so you can have the long sleeve tees and everything for one design together. You've also got everything broken out by types of work. I see kind of questions of people saying, well, can we start scheduling around that? And that may be a little bit hint to something that's coming next. So very excited about that too. Now, the next thing that I want to show you guys and talk about is beta timeline. So we are working hard here to be able to get everybody on the platform to be able to start using it very quickly. And what we're going to be doing over the next about 2-3 weeks is we're going to be adding about 50 shops that can start using it just to make sure that everything is kosher and is running very smoothly. And after that 2-3 week period, we're going to turn everybody else on. So we're going to drop in a link down here below so that you guys can be able to sign up and get on that list if you'd like to help us beta test it. It'd be much appreciated. Not only just test it, but we'd really love your feedback too. This is something that we're going to continue to iterate on to continue to improve for you and make it a lot better. So again, about 2 to 3 weeks, we're going to do internal testing with this group, and then we'll be able to get everybody onto the platform as soon as possible. So this is a bit of what does the future really look like. This is that foundation. This is the total revamp that we had to take and create to allow everybody to start getting into a really powerful new scheduling environment. So we're very, very excited about that. I'm just going to do a quick cruise through questions. Any questions, by the way, that you guys do have, absolutely email us, Bruce at Printavo, info at Printavo. We'll drop in here, support at printavo.com, so that you guys can get answers. We'll have your success manager also reach out if you have questions of how to transfer things over. When you do get your account migrated, we're going to separate everybody's line item by its individual group, as we don't necessarily know who is going to be what group you want to assign things to. So what we decided to do is everything is its own group. And then for in-flight orders, you can just drag them really quickly back and forth to set them up and be able to organize them. So very excited about that. So again, support at printavo.com if you have questions. Drop in that link again below, Chris, or Luke, because it keeps going up. We'll also send it out with a recording of this.
Yeah.
And we have so much documentation. So if you missed little details here, Steve has a ton of documentation that's going to go out. I want to say a special thank you also to the Printavo team for working super hard to get this out. This has been a massive shift in how the program works. And then also a big thank you to you guys, honestly, to be able to get feedback from you on, I see it a lot in the Facebook groups, texting, messaging, Instagram, everything that comes in, our idea board. We see it all. I read it all. We prioritize it to try to get everything done that we feel can help the most. And so thank you guys for that feedback and for participating in that. One thing I wanted to share too is that's really exciting is we are working on finalizing Print Hustlers Conf for this year. We've got a really, really special event. We're looking at October to not interfere with any shows, but there's a little bit of teaser that's coming up soon, so it's going to be exciting. We've got a lot of really cool things going on. Thank you guys again so much. We'll see you guys. We'll shoot an email out. We'll see you guys on the next release.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.